All right. So again, my name is John from GP365. Excited to have the opportunity to speak to everybody again. It's been a couple weeks since we've done a webinar, so great to be back. I have Sam with me today. Sam, you're there, correct?
Yes, I am. Hi, everyone.
Right. Good thing. It'd be bad if I had to do the demo of SmartView. So, so Sam, yeah,
I think you'd be fine.
Thanks for being here. Yeah, exactly. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to say, we'll get into a couple housekeeping items. So, as always, with most webinars, I cannot hear you. So if you have a question, please write it in the question box. At the end of today's session, we're going to come to questions, whether it be functional questions, pricing questions. If we're losing you, I'll try and keep an eye on the question box as Sam demonstrates SmartView, just to make sure that we're explaining things clearly. So again, if you need us, write a question in the question box, and we'll come to it at the end. So with that, it's going to be a bit of a shorter session today. Most of our webinars are about an hour. We wanted to keep this one pretty short and sweet. So we're going to talk briefly about us. I think most of you know who we are now, so we won't dwell on that. And we'll spend most of our time in about a 20-minute demo of SmartView and what its capabilities are. And then we'll end off with some pricing. So as a kind of a high-level overview, SmartView is made by eOne. eOne also make a few other big products such as SmartList Builder, a few other add-ons that kind of extend GP's functionality. They're one of the top ISVs. So I'm excited to showcase this product. It's one of those that it seems like most people aren't aware of. So I think it's a good one to cover. So let's move on, Sam. All right. So the first thing you're going to notice there is Valeria on the left-hand side. So I had to put this picture up just to, number one, wish her a big congrats. We had a baby shower for her last week. So it was actually her last day yesterday. So she's joined in. I see her, I think, on the webinar now watching us. But Val, congratulations. As an overview on sort of who we are, we're a Dynamics GP partner. We have been since the early 2000s. We do everything from implementing GP, supporting GP, and more recently, we've actually released our own product with Microsoft, which is a hosted version of Microsoft GP within the cloud. So again, most of you know us. A lot of you are our current customers, so a big thank you to everybody who's here and listening to us. But needless to say, if you have any GP requirements, whether it be SmartView, an upgrade question, support question, please reach out to us. We're here to help. We're excited to work with new organizations, and we really appreciate the support, whether it be a webinar or being a customer. So next, Sam. All right. So with this, I'm going to hand it over to Sam, who's been with us a little while now. And he's going to be sort of outlining what the differences between a SmartList is and SmartView, as well as actually giving us a live demonstration of SmartView, its capabilities, and showing us why it's worth the money. So Sam, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, John. And as you know, I'm going to actually just kind of expand a little bit more what on John said. So as John mentioned earlier, eOne was released as an alternative to SmartList. Now, essentially, both of these tools are used to create custom reports within GP. The key difference, at least for me, is because I started actually a few weeks ago, just to kind of pick up SmartList is a little bit harder, but with SmartView, it was so much easier just because it's more user-friendly. You can do a lot more. It's more powerful. And to kind of give you like a overall difference of the two is there's definitely more, SmartView is definitely just a more powerful version of SmartList because because SmartView is very fast. It allows you to have multiple filters. It's available from, it makes working with lists easier. You can have totals on screen and easy groupings. And I'm going to actually be showing a lot of this as I do my demo. But some of the key differences that I find, at least for a lot of users, that's very helpful is you can actually use SmartView without using up a license. So there's an external SmartView you can set up, and that way, as long as you've given the access to the appropriate individual, they can log in without ever having to log into GP. So the great thing about that is you never have to use up a GP license. So, if you're a small company and, you have limited amount of licenses, but somebody needs access to SmartView, this is a great alternative because this allows you to, have access to that SmartView without ever logging into GP. So it doesn't hold up a license. So, um, so with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of jump into the demo, just kind of show you what it looks like. So just like GP, just like SmartList, it's very easy to run. So I'm going to go ahead and just open up GP, and then in GP, I'm going to first show you how to access SmartView, and then from there, we will go ahead and we'll also do a demo at the end where we kind of see like without it using up a license. So first things first, I'm going to log in. And if I can remember my password, there we go.
Oh, Sam, it's embarrassing, man. You need a password manager.
Yeah. You know what? It's better that I have this mistake, just to kind of show you that even the best make mistakes. All right, so here we go. First thing first, once it's done loading, I'm going to show you how to access SmartView. And it's very simple. All you have to do is just click on the Microsoft Dynamics GP dropdown. And from there, you'll see if you have SmartList, it's just right underneath SmartList. I'm going to go ahead and click on SmartView. Now, as soon as this pops up, you're going to say, wow, this is exactly like SmartList, but better. And that is true. I find that SmartView is a lot more user-friendly. It's a lot more clean, and it's a lot more easier to just kind of pick up. It's more visually appealing, if you will. So we're going to go ahead and create a report. So I'm going to go ahead and create a purchasing report, and I'm going to go ahead and do an age trial balance. So this is what's coming right now. So I can see my balance here. And right off the bat, you can notice one thing, that at the bottom, you have a total. This is something that SmartList never had. You could never have a total. If you needed to create a total, you'd have to export to Excel, and then from there, you'd essentially have to apply formulas and have it calculate that for you. But SmartView allows you to have that right at the bottom. And another great thing is, just the speed that I was mentioning earlier, you can see it loaded about 102 records, and it did it in less than 1 second. Now that is amazing. Now, SmartView is, to put it simply, if you have millions and millions of records, if you run SmartList, it's going to crash, or it's just going to hold up the system and you'll never be able to get that list. Whereas SmartView, it takes so little time that you're like, oh, okay. So, now that it kind of cuts out that coffee break where if you have a SmartList running, you get a coffee, come back like, oh, okay, still loading. I guess I'll finish my coffee. And then it's like, okay, still loading. I guess I'll respond to my other emails. And eventually by the end of the day, it'll finish loading the SmartList. Well, now we got to cut out those coffee breaks and all that inefficiency because it loads so much faster that you kind of like, I wish I kind of had that coffee. But hey, I think this is going to be more helpful in the long run. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and just kind of show you some of the functionalities. So within SmartList, what used to happen was it was a little bit more complex. When you had to add a column, you tend to go to columns, you hit add, then you'd find, you'd go through, find everything, and that was quite cumbersome because there were so many different things that you would see, and a lot of the times the columns didn't even make sense. Well, you no longer have that issue here because if you look to the right-hand side, you'll see all of the information listed out, exactly as it is. So, for example, if I wanted to run my age trial balance report and I wanted to see, the balance in the 1 to 30 days and so on and so forth, I can simply drag and drop or just double-click it and it'll add it to the list. And then from here, of course, you can sort it so I can start moving the columns around. And you can see that it moves around for me. So let's go ahead and continue. So I'm going to go ahead and add a couple more. So I've got 61 days and over, and also add 31 to 60 days. So I'll scroll to the right-hand side, and I can just drag it here. So this is a lot easier. You don't have to worry about opening the column and shifting it that way. It's right there. You simply drag and drop, and it's a lot easier. It's a lot more, it's more smoother, if you will. So I've gone ahead and do that. So what I want to do in this scenario is I want to see the age trial balance report, but I also want to see my vendors who are on hold for whatever reason. So I'm going to go ahead and attach a hold here, and you can see it's now displaying hold as well. Now, the other great thing about SmartView is you can actually do sorting right from SmartView. So if I wanted to see all of the vendors who are on hold, I'll simply go ahead and click the hold column, it'll sort it, and you can see that it's sorting it at the moment. So all the vendors who are not on hold are here, and if you go to the top, these are the 2 vendors which are currently on hold for whatever reason. And the other cool thing about SmartView is if I want to drill down into this, simply go ahead and double click, and it'll drill down and take you to the vendor right away. So maybe if I want to take this vendor off hold, I'll go ahead and take this off hold. So we can see that Burnett Travel Associates are no longer on hold. So I'll hit save, and then just type in the password. Oh,
I'm going to change all your passwords to be Toronto Maple Leafs. That way you remember them.
Yeah, I'm logged into this, so I don't know what's going on. But anywho, if I did do that, it would actually save the changes, and I simply come in here and I would hit refresh, and you would see that vendor would be taken off of hold. But for now, we'll just continue as is. So let's just say, I'll just kind of continue on. So let's say maybe instead of seeing a balance, you wanted to apply filters. So one of the other great things about SmartView is you can apply specific filters. And to do that, simply go ahead and drag the column that you want to filter by to the top. So let's say I want to do a filter by vendor name, and I want to see their, a balance by vendor. So the other great thing about SmartView is you no longer have to worry about exporting it to Excel and then grouping it and finding out the balances per vendor. This just does it for you. So you can see that for every vendor, it's already creating subgroupings. So so if I keep scrolling to the bottom here, I can see that I have my balances at the top here, and right at the bottom here, I'll have a total balance for all of my vendors. So let me go ahead and close this. So, and the other awesome thing you can do is you can collapse all of these, so you can see like just the running totals. And this, of course, is listing it by the various aging groups that I have. So for 30 days, none of these vendors are here. So these are all recent vendors, and you can see here that I'm aging it as of today's date. So let's go ahead and just change that, and let's change it to, we'll backdate it. So we're going back in time. All right. And we can see the filters here. We can see all the vendors on, and you can kind of apply filters as you like. So you are not limited to how many filters you can apply. You can, if you can add as many different columns as you would want to the filtering here, and it would essentially go in and keep doing it for you. So let's say I want to do that, and I'm going to keep adding a few things. Now, of course, this gets more complicated because you can see it's just kind of grouping on top of it. So again, that's the one key thing that users should be aware of when you're doing this. Just if you're putting too many filters, just make sure that you know what you're looking for. But instead of doing all this, if I was looking for a specific item, I can actually find this within the list. So to do that, all you have to do is click on the Options tab here, and there's this little Find Panel here. So I'm going to go ahead and click Find Panel, and from here I can find what I'm looking for. So let's just say, I knew the name of the vendor. So I don't want to do all this. I'm going to clear all these. So, and by the way, to clear all this, just go back to the Home tab and just hit Clear, and it's going to clear out all those filters for you. So now that I have my Find button, I can type in what I'm looking for. So maybe I'm looking for, and you can see as I start typing in, it's going to already start limiting the list to kind of show you the information, and that's very good because you don't have to simply hit. In SmartList, what you had to do was once you've typed it in, you'd hit select, and it would run through, and it was just a lot more difficult because you're like, okay, maybe that's not how it's spelled. So this kind of already does it for you, so it saves you a lot of time, and you don't have to go back and forth. All right. So that is how you can use the find functionality within SmartView. Now that I've done this, let's go ahead and do a few more things. So let's just say, I have these scroll buttons at the bottom here, and it's kind of cumbersome, so I can actually clear some of the space. So if you go to the Options tab at the top here, you can click Columns. You can unclick Columns here, and it'll hide the columns on the right there. The list, of course, on the left here, and the status and all this information. So once I'm ready to export my list, all I can do is I can simply, take this out to Excel, CSV, or PDF. But before I do that, let me go ahead and show you one more thing. So let's go back to Columns. And now I'm going to add something. Let's go ahead and say we have it here, and I'm going to apply a specific filter. I'm going to do filtering by specific items, and that's something that SmartList could never do. So once you've actually created your SmartList, and if you've applied specific filters, such as, if you wanted to see your vendor buy balances, once you export to Excel, you have to go and do all that exercise, and you have to do that exercise all over again. Whereas in SmartView, whatever I have here, when I export this into Excel, you'll see that it's going to retain this. So I'm going to go ahead and just go back to the Home tab, hit Excel. All right, let's just save this and call it the age trial balance. Perfect. So it's importing all this information for me. And when I open it, you'll see it's going to look exactly the way it did in there. So it remembers what you've entered. It remembers how you wanted to print it, and you can see that it's already filtering based on that information. So it's very powerful in the sense that it saves you from having to go back and forth and edit the information as you would like. So we can see here, we've got the vendor at the top here, we've got the balance, and it kind of goes into further detail. All right. So that is essentially some of the more powerful functionalities of SmartView. The other thing I want to show you is the ability to use SmartView from an external access. So let's just say I'm in the scenario where I have a limited amount of licenses, and I don't want to, because everybody's in the system, but somebody else needs access to SmartView. I would have to get somebody to log out, or and then you'd have to do that, which can be quite troubling, which can be quite troublesome because you have to schedule that, and it just takes away from efficiency. But with SmartView, you can actually have that user access SmartView from an external product. So I'm going to go ahead and close this, and I'm going to open up SmartView. So here's the SmartView at the bottom here, and I'm sure I'm going to probably forget my password, so forgive me. So it's just going to open up. It's going to ask you to log in. Okay. And just so I can remember my password, there we go. And now I'm logged in as a different user. Now this does not take up a GP license, and of course everything that you have, all the lists that you've saved would appear. So because I didn't save that view, it didn't appear. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually go ahead and recreate that. It's very easy. So I'm going to go ahead and just go through the list again and add the information I need. So let's go into so let's go ahead and just add some information. So let's go ahead, maybe I want to add this here, and I want to do maybe check them out as well. Okay, let's just say this is what I'm going to go with. Once I'm ready to add this, I simply go and click add here. I'm going to give it a name. So payables transactions and amount billed year to date. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and decide, who should have access to this. So you can actually pick the users. So maybe everybody who has access to SmartView should also be able to access this list. I'm going to add the company as well, and this is the company that I would like for it to have access to. Then I'm going to go ahead and click save, and the SmartView is now saved. So if I go back into GP, it's going to refresh here.
So just while you do that, Sam, I just want to throw out a couple sort of practical examples of why it matters to have data outside of GP. I mean, just to give a couple common use cases here. Let's say you have a manager who wants to view, all their outstanding requisitions or purchase orders. They can simply create a SmartView for that and not have to consume a license or even have to go into GP to find it. Another one would be, let's say you have an employee who wants to view all of their outstanding expenses. And again, these are just sort of silly examples that we see quite often, but the power is that you can get to ultimately anything you need without having to drill into GP. Sorry,
right.
Keep going.
Yeah, no, of course. Exactly, yeah. And I think that's the great thing, and that is something that I did kind of miss upon. I didn't provide some of the more use cases, but as John mentioned, having that ability, like John said, is going to allow you to be more efficient because you don't have to have somebody log out and log back in. So yeah, so I've created a smart view. I've created the smart list, and I'm just going to go back and check one last thing. Okay, so I've given access to my old account, so I need to go back and actually log in using that account. So I'm gonna close all windows here, exit, and I'm gonna log back into GP. But this time with my account.
I just wanted to point out that, Allison, I see your question. We're going to come to that at the end, so just hang tight.
All right, so if I actually go back into my SmartView, I will now have access to that saved SmartView. So under purchasing, payable transactions. Huh. I'm not sure why it's not displaying that for me, but essentially what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to save that view for me so I can access it. So what I was essentially showing was that you can go in and you can actually share that view with other users. It doesn't have to be just for yourself. And sorry, one last thing I wanted to kind of touch upon was at the bottom here, you also have SmartView allows you the ability to apply a specific formula. So instead of seeing the sum total, maybe if you want to see the average, simply just go ahead and right click on this and you can apply a specific formula. So let's say I want to see the minimum amount, I could do that. I could do maximum amount. So this is the maximum amount for a particular vendor, or I can do average and so on and so forth. All right. And the other thing I wanted, one last thing I wanted to talk about was the specific filters that you have on these items here. So I can go ahead and click this, and I can actually choose the which amount I'm looking for or what balance I'm looking for, and yeah, and of course it allows you to go in and drill down more into the information, and that makes that allows you to simply go from one part of SmartView right into GP to see what makes up that balance. So yeah, so that is essentially SmartView. So that's kind of the demo that I wanted to cover. I think the main takeaways are the ability to apply different filters and the ability to use the find button to kind of locate the information a lot easier. So I think that's something that that SmartList doesn't have, because it's essentially just a view of the data dump, whereas a SmartView is more refined. It's more it's more appealing just because it's more user friendly and it allows you to do a lot more functionality within SmartView as opposed to SmartList. All right. So with
Perfect.
that being said, I'm gonna hand it back over to John.
Yeah, so maybe just to kind of quickly recap sort of what we're going to do next here. I'm only going to spend about 5 or so minutes left chatting to everybody, and then we'll kind of move on. But today was aimed at kind of providing a high level of sort of what it's capable of, as opposed to building a complicated use case. On our last webinar, which was on SmartList Builder, we focused on building an extremely complex SmartList. And I think it took us about 45 minutes to do that. It was a pretty complicated one. So today is more about, here's what SmartView is, and here's what it can do at a high level. If you're interested in seeing kind of a more technical sort of webinar on what it's capable of, and maybe some more technical use cases, maybe shoot me an email and let me know that, or even as a question, just so I know that people want to see more complicated scenarios, and we'll absolutely get to those. So with that, let's move on, Sam.
Yep.
Okay, so just a couple things here before we end off with questions, then the giveaways as always at the end. So we have a few events coming up. Our next events are on May 10th and June 14th. The next one is on Word templates and how to do documents, or how to attach documents within GP. That's been a pretty popular one. I think a lot of organizations struggle with a good document attach strategy so that everything is can be found easily within GP. So we're going to cover that in that session. It is going to be about an hour because we're covering 2. 2 different topics, and there's about 15 spots left, or there was as of this morning when I checked. So if you're interested, go register, because these are capped to 100 attendees. And the next one is going to be in June, which is on GP workflow. So this is all about creating workflows that are going to save you time, automate tasks, and sort of day-to-day operations. So that's going to be another webinar that'll be probably about an hour, give or take. We want to show some cool examples of workflows. So check that out. It's definitely going to be, I think, of interest if either of those, capabilities or functions appeal to you. And yeah, Sam, maybe move on to our final slide here. So blogs. If you missed any of our previous webinars, with the exception of maybe a few, we post them all into our resource section. So if you go to gp365.ca/resources, you can find all of our recorded videos there, and all of our terrible accounting related jokes that we make on the webinars there. So please go there, check them out. You'll see the last webinar we did there was that SmartList Builder webinar, which I'm referring to. So check that out if you want to see a really complicated example of what you can do with SmartList Builder. And yeah, and maybe the last thing is a big thank you to everybody who joined today. We really appreciate the support. We really appreciate everybody giving us a bit of their time. I understand that everyone's quite busy, so really, really appreciate you showing support. And like I say, if you need a GP partner, we're extremely passionate about this, and we'd love to work with you guys. So, pricing, of course, maybe one of the most important parts. So how much is this product? So SmartView is $2,500. We have worked with eOne to secure a promo of $500 off for any organization who wants to buy SmartView by the end of this month. So I think we got maybe 2 weeks left, give or take. So if you are interested in that, let us know. It's going to be about $2,000 if you only want to purchase SmartView by itself and not one of their packages. They have packages to purchase a few products together. But either way, we have a $500 off coupon. So if you're interested, let us know. I'll give you the coupon code so that you can apply that $500 off to your purchase. And the last thing is we've also put together kind of a discounted training and install package. So we're offering to install the product for you and give you sort of a half day of training on how to use it for $500. So if you're interested in just the product and you want to install it and learn how to use it on your own, great. If you want us to do both, we're happy to do that and help you out. And maybe with that, I'll throw up a quick poll just to get a sense of how good or bad of a job we did today, Sam. And then we'll move to questions.
Yep.
And see if, and give away some gift cards, as always. Tim Hortons for the Canadians and Dunkin' Donuts for our U.S. attendees.
Okay.
Like Jeopardy. So I'm going to close the polls in 15 seconds. Let's cue some Jeopardy music here. All right, so let's wrap that up. And let's get to some questions. So I'm going to come to Allison's question first, since, well, she was first. So Allison's question is, can you please show us how to find SmartView with a GP license again? I missed that at the beginning. Would you mind showing how you can get to SmartView, Tim, with a GP license, not without?
Yep. So once you're in GP, essentially once you're logged in, it does take up a GP license. So once you're here, simply just go ahead and click on the Microsoft Dynamics GP dropdown, and from here you can just access SmartView. It's just, if you have SmartList installed, it's right underneath it, and once you're in it, you basically are using a license as soon as you're logged in. So, you're using SmartView, counts as a license. So yeah.
Perfect. And I will mention that we're using, I think, GP 2018, which is the latest version.
Yeah.
So if your product, Allison or anyone else, looks a little bit different, It could be because you're using an older version. If you cannot see it, even though it's installed there, it could be something related to security. Maybe shoot us an email privately, and we'll check into how to make sure that you can view that if you currently have it installed. Okay, so next question is from Doug, and his question is, which version of GP is SmartView compatible with?
So you can go as far back as 2010, so it's compatible with GP 2010, and then going forward, all of those are compatible with SmartView.
Cool. Let me just see if there's any more questions here before I move on. Oh, well, you kind of answered that question, which was from Xana, which is SmartView compatible with GP 2013? So the answer there would be yes.
Yes.
Correct?
Yep. Yep.
All right. All right. So fantastic. Thank you for your note back, Allison. So with that, let's maybe move on to our last slide, which is the giveaway slide and the thank you slide. And I think I usually have my email there. Sam, do you mind writing my email on that slide just so everybody has it, which is jposan@gp365.ca. And while we do that, I have 3 gift cards I'm going to be giving out today. So the first one goes to Derek H. The next one goes to Patricia P. And the third one goes to Allison S. So a huge thank you to everybody for joining. Go register for our next webinar if you haven't already. This one will be posted on our resource section actually, I'm going on vacation today for a few days. I won't be back until next week. So it'll be on there probably late next week if you want to refer back to it or send it around to others on your team. If you're interested in the product, email me. The promo is on till the end of this month. And then after that, unfortunately, you have to pay full price. So it is what it is. Thank you for joining us, Sam. You're a rock star. Next time, remember your passwords, and we'll see you guys in a few weeks.
Awesome.
Okay, take care. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, guys.